Yo, what's up, people? Um, I just want to make this response to the Congolese woman about African Americans and yeah, just basically give my standpoint. I'll just get quick straight to the point. Um, I was born in the UK in London, and my parents are Mauritian, both of them born Creole Mauritian, that is. So we are of African descendantry, direct lineage to slaves. Um, and yeah, I'm in my 30s now, so I've been around for a while. Um, I've also grown up in a mixture of circumstances. I've been in gangs when I was younger. I was a part of that gang culture in London. I've also served time in prison as well, a lengthy sentence. I've also been in and out of the, always been in trouble with the law. On the flip side, I've always had chances to sort of prosper as well. I've had careers in finance, technology. I also make music as well. So yeah. So I want to start off by saying that to the Congolese woman, sister, if you want to be talking about African Americans, you need to be talking about Africans as a whole. And I'm talking about black people worldwide. You know, there's black people in the UK, there's black people in France, Germany, all over Europe, all over the Asian continents as well. And I'm pretty sure in Australia and all these other places, black people are everywhere. And you know, we live in an age now where you can go on the internet and you can educate yourself on the plight of our black youth today, right? It's not pretty. I mean, for a large part, we do have successful black people in all around the world. But for the day-to-day person, the struggle's real. And I just want you to sort of understand that, you know, a lot of people from the native land, the motherland, Africa, they kind of have this notion that the streets are paved with gold and we, you know, everything is all rosy and, you know, everything's nice and, you know, we've got opportunities here. And, you know, to a certain extent, yeah, I mean, there are glimmers of opportunities and, you know, there's little pockets of opportunities that you can sort of prosper in this country. But generally speaking, for a man of color, especially black people, it's a struggle out here. And you ask anybody that's, you know, over in America, black people in America, black people in Europe, they'll tell you the same thing. It's a struggle out here. And even just to sort of make it day to day, it's very hard. And we also have common problems within our communities as well. We have a lot of black on black crime, you know, as America does. We have the same thing in the UK. We have very, very similar issues when it comes to our black youth and just our behaviors as black and African people living in the Western world. So be assured that to some extent the struggle is shared in some ways. Now, to dead that argument off in one go. We can't really compare each other's struggles in that sense. It's not fair for me to say, oh yeah, in Britain we have more struggles than we do, than you guys do have in America or somewhere else. It's not a competition. Struggle is struggle, whether it be by gun, whether it be by knife, whether it be by drugs, whether it be by fraud, or anything. We have these kind of struggles in our community, and the way you can measure that is that even if you was to up and leave the Congo or anywhere in Africa and move to the Western world, you will experience the same dangers as everybody else. You are not no different in terms of the eyes of the law. You're just another black person, whether you're African, Caribbean, whatever. That's what people need to understand first and foremost, right? The second thing I want to talk about is this young woman from the Congo was speaking highly of the Chinese and the Asians, saying that they help us and they're there to regenerate the rebirth of Africa and all that. Well, what you've got to understand is, how are they doing that? Okay, are they coming in? Are they embracing your culture? Are they embracing your children? Are they saying that, you know what, Africans, we need to make them prosper as well. Here's $10,000. Go start yourself a business. Don't give us nothing in return. Are they doing stuff like that? I don't think so. What they are doing, and what I've seen in parts of Mauritius and stuff like that, is that they're either buying up land and building infrastructures such as shopping malls and schools and business districts and stuff, and they are bringing commerce to that country. But don't think for 1 second that they're going to pick you, sister, and put you right at the top of that business infrastructure, at the top of that shopping mall, and say, you, Miss Congolese woman, you are going to own that business right there. You're going to own that shopping mall. No, that's not even the way it works. What they might do is, when they open up a shopping mall and they give, they lease out all these shopping outlets to these people and stuff like that, they might give you a space on lease in the shopping mall to rent, so that you can run your business, or that you could maybe work in a McDonald's in a shopping mall, or maybe a Foot Locker in a shopping mall, so you can just make just about enough money to provide for your kids and provide for your children and so forth. But in hindsight, they're going to be the ones that's profiting the bigger part of that. And this is how a lot of people in the motherland are blindsided by things, because they think like, oh, we're going to get shops and we're going to get shopping malls and they're going to pave our roads and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. What you've got to think about is, they're not going to do this for free. This ain't a charity. Like, how do you think you're going to pay that back? All these millions and billions of dollars that's going into building infrastructure and all this regentrification in Africa, right? It's costing millions and billions of dollars. How do you think that is going to be paid back? Now, I know in certain experiences of me being in the finance industry at one point in my life, they can either do it two ways. So the thing is, you ain't got no money. Like, you ain't got no real money. I'm talking to you, Miss Congolese woman. You ain't got millions and billions of dollars just sitting there to pay back the loans or pay back the contractors and stuff like that. So what they're gonna do? If you ain't got no money, then they're gonna take monetary value in land. So they're going to start buying up land. So say, okay, you can't afford to pay this back. Okay, we'll take this land and we'll take that land. So the land, the very land that you proclaim to be yours, the pure Africans, is going to be owned by the Chinese and by the Indians. And this is throughout Africa. This is all over the place. All right? So that's my next point. So the frustrating thing is that you've really got to come out here in the Western world to really see the bigger picture. And I probably get it. Maybe that's all you see back home in the Congo and places like that, right? You just see your environment for the way it is, and you think that's how the way the world works. But out here in the West, we have access to a lot more things in terms of information. And this is the key point. It's all about information. So when you're starting to make opinions and stuff like that, the better you're informed, the better you can make an opinion. And that is that the Indian and the Chinese, they weren't always wealthy and powerful. They didn't have all these billions before. Being able to go around the world and build and build all these communities and build on infrastructure and stuff like that. India was a colonized state when it was under the British Empire, right? Indians were poor. Just like Africa, Indians were poor, right? They were part of the slave trade as well to a certain extent. Chinese weren't always that rich, right? But then you got to think to yourself, how did they get rich? How did they become so powerful? How were they able to reach these different parts of the world? And this is something that I have observed as someone that's born and bred in the UK, as someone of color, right? That's someone that identifies as black, maybe a little lighter skinned, but hey, that's okay. You've got to understand is that as black people, right, while we were fighting, and I'm attested to this as well, I've been part of the struggle as well, while we were fighting over crumbs, killing each other over a couple $100 or a couple thousand or even a couple 100,000, it's nothing compared to the bigger picture. Because what was going on while black people were warring each other and were hating on each other and we were against each other just because we wore different clothes or we represented different areas. We had that tribal instinct, right? Well, this was all going on in the UK, and I'm pretty sure in the US as well, to a certain extent. You had these other communities coming in from their motherland. I.e., for example, the Indians. They weren't born in the UK. They didn't originate from the UK. They came in, with Windrush times. They rebuilt Britain as well. They brought their families over and stuff. But the difference is that the Indians were building communities, and they were doing that by owning businesses. And then next thing you know, the next Indian person was buying up businesses, running corner shops and shopping malls and grocery markets and all these different franchises. So next thing you know, the entire street is run by Indian people, right? Now, what you've got to understand is that these Indian people that live in the UK, right, they've got Indian families back home in India. So what that entails is that there's a lot of finances and a lot of businesses going back and forth between India and the UK. This is just one example. Back and forth. So what happens is this generates industry. So instead of relying on the white man, which is the UK government and all this and all that, relying on handouts and relying on someone to come in and just give us money and we all prosper. No, the Indians took it upon themselves to build build. They started owning houses, residential properties, business properties. They build schools. Next thing you know, they're in power. They're in politics. Right? You look at this model all around the world. We can go all the way to Mauritius and find the same kind of thinking. Okay? Indians helping out other Indians. Regardless of whether they've been born in India or they've been born in the UK. That doesn't really matter. We don't really care. Because while you guys, Africans, and maybe to a larger extent, some people in America, black people in America, black people in the UK, while you're too worried about the pettiness bullshit, like, you're not pure, like you're not pure African, or you don't wear Versace, so you ain't doing it right, or no, this is my corner, like you owe me this and you owe me that. He ain't making no money, he's a broke N-word. 2018, we're still talking about pettiness, whereas these communities have gone leaps and bounds over us. Now, don't get twisted. There's a lot of successful black people here, and I don't want people to come start jumping on and be like, oh yeah, but black people prosper. But yeah, black people do prosper, but as a race, we fail at helping each other and us prospering as a race, as the African race. We only do for oneself and for one's family, and that's it. And this goes to show you, just look around you, look all around you, look at all the businesses that sit around you, all of the commerce and stuff like that. It's all Asians, Chinese, and you've even got the Eastern Europeans now, the Russians, the Kosovans. This is in Europe I'm talking about. They're all building industries, and this goes back and forth between them, the Western countries which they reside in, or which their children were born in, and also in the motherland as well. This is why the Indian economy is booming. This is why the Chinese economy are booming. The Chinese, they're working in factories and mass producing things, and they're selling it to the world. And they've got Chinese people that live in America and Europe that are facilitating this industry, and all this money is going back home to India and China. You don't need no white man. Don't need none of that at all. So while we're still fighting over crumbs, in 2018, this Congolese woman has got the nerve to sit there and think that these other ethnic minorities are just going to sit there and give us handouts. Well, give you handouts, as you so put it. Like as if they're going to come along and put money in your hands just to regenerate Africa. Why? Because they feel sorry for us? What? Because they feel sorry that, that we haven't, we haven't prospered as Africans, right? Whether we come from the motherland or we've got parents that come from the motherland, right? Africa has been done an injustice for centuries, right? It's been a treacherous time for Africa over many of centuries. But in this day and age, the one thing that is prevalent today is that we still have the ability to tear each other down. And this is the problem that we face today. Not the white man. I saw this other video about Memorandum 46 and all this. Look, listen, let's get past that, right? Before we can even point the finger at the white man or anybody else, we need to stop this blame culture. The only people that we can blame is ourselves. Because we as black people, we can prosper. We can make money. But the fact of it is what do we do with that money? Do we go out and we buy Benzes? And do we go out and buy Lamborghinis, mansions and Versace's? Or do we invest in infrastructure? Or do we invest in building our communities together? Because that's what the Indians, that's what the Asians and the Chinese did. So, to the Congolese woman, educate yourself, man. Black people all over the world, bro. And at the end of the day, when you want to talk about pure African, you know, that can be proven now. You do know that, right? It's not just an opinion now. It's not like some old folklore or some voodoo shit where you can just come out with something and everybody go and believe it in your village. Like, if you've got the ability to go on your smartphone and make a video and send it all over the world, we saw it here in the UK, and you're coming from the Congo, then you can use that same kind of mindset to inform yourself, to do some research about what's going on around the world in terms of black people and African people. Because in my eyes, all black people, all African, we're all African. Whether you're Caribbean or whatever, we all come from the motherland. We can all trace our genes back to the motherland. And we can prove that. Ancestry.co.uk, there's all these genealogy systems that we have now where we can prove, you know, how pure we are. You know, if you're so pure, why don't you go do one of those ancestry write-ups or them genealogy type of things and post up the results and see how pure you are? Because being pure African doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit at all. The fact of it is, we're all in this together because the other races, in terms of, you know, the white people, Indians and the Chinese, they all see us as one. And that's what it's all about. It's all about being one. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. In fact, I'm very disappointed that to hear this from someone that comes from the motherland. You should be setting examples for the children that were, you know, that were victims of colonization and slavery, that have been displaced all around the world, that don't feel that they can't identify with the land that they were born. Because this is the reality of us. This is our struggle. So think about that next time. And maybe there could be a better future for us. Anyways, I'll leave that there, people. I'm signing out.